Doctor finds his old love in serious condition in the hospital, and something surprising happens. Imagine rediscovering the love of your life in a hospital, not as a visitor, but as a patient. This is the story of Dr. Frank and Anna, a couple who parted ways years ago but were brought back together by extraordinary circumstances. Dr. Frank had seen countless patients in his career, but nothing could prepare him for the moment he walked into room 314. There, lying in the hospital bed, was Anna, the love he had lost years ago. The room seemed to shrink as their eyes met, a rush of memories flooding back. He could barely hear the beeping of the machines over the pounding of his own heart. "Anna," he whispered, his voice barely audible. She looked up, her eyes widening in recognition. "Frank," she said softly, disbelief mingling with relief. Years had passed since their paths had diverged, each taking a different route in life. But now, fate had brought them back together in the most unexpected of places. Frank stood rooted to the spot, memories of their past love flashing before his eyes. The late-night walks, the shared dreams, the painful goodbye. They all came rushing back. Taking a deep breath, he approached her bedside. "Anna, what happened?" he asked, his voice steadying as he slipped back into his role as a doctor, though his heart was anything but calm. "I was in an accident," she explained, wincing slightly. "They said I needed surgery, and then you walked in." Frank nodded, taking her hand gently. "I'm here now. We'll get through this together." The professional mask he wore so well began to crack, his emotions spilling over. Seeing her in pain, vulnerable, made him realize how much he still cared. For a moment, the years melted away, and they were just Frank and Anna again, two souls intertwined by love and fate. He knew the road ahead would be tough, filled with both medical and emotional challenges. But as he looked into her eyes, Frank felt a renewed sense of purpose. This was his chance to make things right, to heal not just her physical wounds, but the scars left on both their hearts. And so, with a silent vow to protect and heal her, Dr. Frank embarked on this unexpected journey, determined to rediscover the love they had lost and to write a new chapter in their shared story. Dr. Frank found himself in an emotional whirlwind as he treated Anna. Every touch, every word exchanged in that sterile hospital room was laden with a history that no one else could see. The lines between his professional duty and personal feelings blurred more with each passing day. One afternoon, while checking her vitals, Frank noticed the way Anna's eyes followed him. It wasn't just the look of a patient relying on her doctor. It was the gaze of someone seeing a piece of their past brought back to life. "You haven't changed much, Frank," she said softly, her voice tinged with nostalgia. Frank smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Neither have you, Anna," he replied, adjusting her pillow with a tenderness that spoke volumes. "But a lot has happened since we last saw each other." The room fell silent, filled with unspoken words and emotions. Frank remembered the days they spent together, the plans they made, and the dreams that were shattered when life pulled them apart. He had buried those memories deep, focusing on his career, but now they resurfaced with a force that took his breath away. As he administered her medication, his fingers brushed against hers, sending a jolt through both of them. "I'm sorry," he said, pulling back quickly, but Anna shook her head. "It's okay, Frank. It's just being here with you again. It's like all those years never passed," she confessed, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I never stopped thinking about you." Frank swallowed hard, the weight of their shared past pressing down on him. "I never stopped thinking about you either, Anna," he admitted. "But right now, we need to focus on getting you better." Anna nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "You're right. We have time to talk about everything later. For now, I'm just glad you're here." As the days turned into weeks, Frank and Anna found themselves falling into an easy rhythm, their old connection rekindling. They talked about the past, their separate journeys, and the what-ifs that haunted them both. Frank's dedication to her recovery was unwavering, but he couldn't ignore the emotions that surged within him. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, Frank sat by Anna's bedside. "Anna, I know this isn't the time or place, but I need you to know something. Seeing you again has made me realize how much I missed you. I want to make things right, to be there for you in every way I couldn't be before." Anna reached out, her hand covering his. "Frank, I've waited a long time to hear those words. Let's take things one step at a time, but I feel the same way." In that moment, surrounded by the hum of medical equipment and the soft glow of the hospital lights, they found a spark of hope. Their journey was far from over, but together, they were ready to face whatever came next. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of medical procedures and emotional highs and lows. Dr. Frank and Anna faced each day together, their bond growing stronger as they navigated the complexities of her treatment and the resurfacing emotions from their past. Anna's condition was precarious, and there were days when the prognosis looked bleak. Frank found himself balancing his role as a dedicated doctor with the deep personal connection he felt for Anna. Every setback felt like a personal blow, but he knew he had to remain strong for her. One particularly challenging day, Anna experienced severe complications. Frank rushed to her side, his heart pounding with fear. "Anna, stay with me," he whispered, his voice shaking. The medical team worked tirelessly, and Frank was torn between his professional responsibilities and his overwhelming worry for the woman he loved. As the crisis passed and Anna stabilized, Frank let out a sigh of relief. He stayed by her side, holding her hand, his eyes filled with concern. "You scared me," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Anna squeezed his hand weakly, managing a small smile. "I'm not going anywhere, Frank. Not now, not ever." Their nights were filled with quiet conversations about their past and hopes for the future. They spoke of dreams left unfulfilled and the possibility of new beginnings. Frank shared stories from his years as a doctor, while Anna recounted her journey since they had parted ways. Each story, each memory, brought them closer, healing the old wounds that had kept them apart. During one of their many late-night talks, Anna looked at Frank, her eyes filled with gratitude and love. "Frank, I never thought I'd have the chance to tell you this, but you mean everything to me. Your support, your love, it's given me the strength to keep fighting." Frank felt a lump in his throat as he replied, "Anna, you've always been my inspiration. Seeing you fight with such courage reminds me of why I became a doctor in the first place. We're in this together, and I won't let you go through this alone." Together, they faced each challenge head-on. Frank advocated for the best treatments, never wavering in his determination to see Anna through her ordeal. The medical staff, inspired by their story, rallied around them, providing unwavering support. As Anna's health began to improve, the emotional struggles they had faced seemed to ease as well. They learned to lean on each other, finding strength in their shared history and the love that had never truly faded. One day, as Frank wheeled Anna out to the hospital garden for some fresh air, they sat in companionable silence, enjoying the warmth of the sun. Anna turned to him, her eyes shining with hope. "Frank, thank you for never giving up on me, for believing in us." Frank took her hand, his heart full. "Anna, it's you who taught me what it means to fight, to love, and to hope. We've faced so much, but I believe the best is yet to come." In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of the garden and the promise of a new day, they felt a renewed sense of purpose. Together, they had faced the darkest of times and emerged stronger, ready to embrace whatever the future held. As Anna's health continued to improve, the bond between her and Dr. Frank grew deeper and more profound. They spent countless hours together, not just as doctor and patient, but as two souls reconnecting after years apart. Each moment was a step towards healing the old wounds that had kept them from each other. One evening, as the sun set and cast a warm glow over the hospital room, Frank sat by Anna's bedside, holding her hand. "Do you remember the day we met?" he asked, his voice filled with nostalgia. Anna smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Of course I do. You were so serious, always focused on your studies. I never thought you'd notice me." Frank chuckled, shaking his head. "You were impossible not to notice. You brought so much light into my life, even back then." He paused, his expression turning serious. "I'm sorry for the way things ended between us. I never stopped regretting it." Anna squeezed his hand. "We both made mistakes, Frank, but we're here now, and that's what matters. We have a second chance." As they talked, They opened up about their fears, their regrets, and their hopes for the future. The pain of their past began to fade, replaced by a sense of renewal and possibility. They reminisced about the dreams they had shared and made new plans together, each conversation bringing them closer. One night, Frank took Anna out to the hospital garden. The air was crisp, and the stars shone brightly above them. They sat on a bench, wrapped in each other's warmth, and for a moment, it felt like they were the only two people in the world. "Anna," Frank began, his voice trembling slightly, "I want to make things right this time. I want us to have the life we always dreamed of. No more regrets, no more missed opportunities." Anna looked at him, her heart full of love and gratitude. "I want that too, Frank, more than anything." With those words, they sealed their commitment to each other. The love that had once been buried under years of separation now blossomed anew, stronger and more resilient than ever. They faced each day with a sense of purpose and joy, knowing that they were together, ready to build a future filled with love and happiness. The hospital staff, who had witnessed their journey, marveled at the transformation in both of them. Frank, once reserved and focused solely on his work, now radiated warmth and compassion. Anna, whose spirit had been dimmed by illness, now shone with vitality and hope. Their story became an inspiration to everyone around them, a testament to the power of love and the strength of the human spirit. As Anna's recovery progressed, they made plans for a life beyond the hospital walls, a life where they could finally fulfill the dreams they had once set aside. One day, as they walked hand in hand through the garden, Anna turned to Frank and said, "Thank you for never giving up on us, for believing in our love." Frank smiled, his heart full. "It was always you, Anna. You gave me a reason to hope, to fight, to love. I'm grateful for every moment we've been given." In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of the garden and the promise of a new beginning, they felt a profound sense of peace. Together, they had faced their past, healed their wounds, and rediscovered a love that was meant to last a lifetime. As Anna's strength returned, so did her spirit. Discharged from the hospital, she and Dr. Frank stood on the threshold of a new beginning. The world outside was the same, but their perspectives had changed, colored by the trials they had overcome and the love they had rekindled. Their first days out of the hospital were filled with small joys. They took long walks in the park, savoring the freedom and the simple pleasure of each other's company. Frank introduced Anna to his favorite spots in the city, places he had always wanted to share with her. They laughed more, talked about everything and nothing, and slowly built a new routine that felt both familiar and excitingly new. One evening, as they sat on a bench overlooking the city, Frank turned to Anna, his eyes reflecting the glow of the setting sun. "I've been thinking a lot about our future," he began, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "I want us to make the most of every moment. I want to be there for you, always." Anna smiled, her heart swelling with love. "I feel the same way, Frank. We've been given a second chance, and I don't want to waste it. Let's make a life together, one filled with love, laughter, and all the dreams we once had." With renewed determination, they began to make plans for their future. Frank decided to take a step back from the intense pressures of his job, focusing more on patient care and less on the administrative burdens that had once consumed him. He wanted to be present, not just for Anna, but for himself as well. Anna, inspired by her journey, decided to start a support group for patients who were facing long-term illnesses. She wanted to give back, to help others find the strength and hope that she had found through her love for Frank and her own resilience. Their days were filled with purpose and their nights with dreams. They talked about traveling, about visiting the places they had always wanted to see. They planned a small, intimate wedding, surrounded by close friends and family who had supported them through their darkest times. It was a celebration not just of their love, but of their triumph over adversity. On the day of the wedding, as Anna walked down the aisle, Frank felt a surge of emotions. Seeing her, radiant and full of life, was a testament to their journey. As they exchanged vows, promising to love and cherish each other through all of life's challenges, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. Later, at the reception, they danced under the stars, holding each other close. "We did it," Frank whispered in Anna's ear. "We made it." Anna looked up at him, her eyes shining with tears of joy. Yes, we did. And this is just the beginning. Their love had been tested by time, by illness, and by life's unexpected twists. Yet, through it all, they had found their way back to each other, stronger and more in love than ever. Together, they embraced the future, ready to face whatever came their way with the same courage and love that had brought them to this moment. As they walked hand in hand into their new life, they knew that their story was far from over. It was a story of love rediscovered, of old wounds healed, and of a future filled with endless possibilities. And as they faced the future together, they did so with hearts full of hope and hands held tight, ready for whatever adventures lay ahead.